Hi friends, Jen here with Serenity Hill Farmstead. Today I have to make a couple tea blends. We are out of a couple teas that I like to keep stocked for a couple members of my family. And I figured these are good blends for people that would suffer with a couple common gut ailments. So I'm going to make them here with you today. And we're going to talk all about the herbs that we're going to use to make them. All right, so we've got all of the supplies ready. I had to get out my jars, lids, a mixing bowl, and a funnel. And I'm going to be using this, just talking about some of the herbs today. This is a book I highly recommend. It's almost always on sale when I link it. I will go ahead and put a link for this book. If you have not gotten this book, this is a great beginner's book. I reference this a lot, still not being a beginner anymore. It talks a lot about different herbs, obviously, that we're going to use, the materia medica in the back. And most herbals, which is an herb book, you will find in materia medica, in most of them. Not all of them, but most of them. And the materia medica is just kind of a place in the back of the book. It's an index of a bunch of common herbs, or the herbs that they've talked about in the book, that have the information about them, talks about their properties, what they're used for, sometimes where you can purchase it. And I like the materia medica in this book. It also talks about using fresh plants versus dried herbs, and talks about different preparations and extraction techniques. It gives a good chunk of sample recipes in here. So it's just a nice kind of introductory book to have if you are looking at making your own herbal medicine. I highly recommend this book. So some of the information on the herbs that I'm going to use today, I'm going to reference right from here. So 2 teas that we're going to make. I am going to start with the real basic one first. I have one member of my family that gets really rough indigestion when they eat any kind of tomato products. And I used to have those peppermint beadlets from doTERRA, but I am very anti-ingesting essential oils, and I said I'm not going to get any more of those when they run out, and you're just going to have to deal with peppermint tincture and peppermint tea. So here we are making this indigestion tea. So the very first thing I'm putting in here is Rama Tulsi. Tulsi is an adaptogen, and I feel like anytime the body is going through any kind of stress, being it situational, seasonally, during an illness, or an allergic reaction or anything, having an adaptogen on board is super beneficial because it helps your body get through the situation easier, and it helps you rebound better. So I always like to put in, whenever I'm trying to make a tea or preparation for a specific situation like indigestion, or what we're going to talk about in a minute, which is IBS, I like to have an adaptogen in there to support the body as a whole. So we've got Tulsi in there. It tastes really nice, and it pairs with like everything. Whoops. The next one we're going to do is chamomile, because with indigestion usually comes a lot of gas and bloating. It's got this lovely carminative property that helps to break down the gas that is building up in the body that makes you bloated and really distended and uncomfortable. Distended's just for a fancy word, fancy medical term for it. Your belly's kind of blowing up a little bit. So we put a little bit of chamomile in there. I'm doing equal parts of everything just for reference here. Peppermint is the next one. And peppermint is kind of our key herb. When you're making a tea blend, your key herb, yes, it's great. Your key herb is the one that kind of everything is circling around. So peppermint is our key herb here. Chamomile is another key herb. And then the other 2 herbs that I'm using, which is the Tulsi and then marshmallow is the last one. Those are the supportive herbs. So we are doing another equal part of peppermint. Super, super easy tea to make. Now, when you are making a tea blend with aromatic herbs like peppermint and chamomile, you don't need a ton of the tea when you're steeping it. So you're not going to need a tablespoon of this for 1 cup of tea. It would be a very, very strong cup of tea. You can do something like a teaspoon in a larger cup of water, and that would be plenty. And then you're just going to steep this. This is the marshmallow. You're just going to steep this for 10 minutes and be good to go. You don't want to over steep it. You don't need to. that's not necessary. So marshmallow, why I'm putting this in there is because it's really good at balancing the mucous membranes in the gut. So when we talk about balancing the mucous membranes and indigestion, when you have indigestion, you have a change in the acid level in your gut. And that can be either an increase or a decrease of acid that's totally individual to the person, and maybe their underlying medical stuff they have going on, or maybe how their body just reacts to the food that they're eating. There are a lot of different factors that can go into this here. So marshmallow here will take whatever the situation is and it'll help regulate it. It will regulate the mucous membrane so it's not overproducing acid, it's not underproducing acid. The moisture level is exactly what it should be. It's not overproducing mucus and it's not underproducing things and taking moisture away, which can cause a whole host of other problems as you get lower into the intestines in that section of the digestion. So here we go. Now this is for my family. So I'm using my hands, because we don't care. I cook all the food. So we're just gonna go ahead and use the hands, get in there and mix everything real well. And then I'm gonna put it in this jar and we're done. It's that simple, it's that fast. It's not a super time consuming thing. I might actually be able to make a little more. I don't know, maybe a little over a quarter cup of each. I might have done like 2/3 of a cup of each. So I think I'll probably need to add a little extra to this. Yeah, for sure. We need to double what we did. So, but I don't have much Rama left, so I think I'm gonna come back to this and we'll see if I have any Rama left. I have to order more Rama. We did not grow nearly enough this year. I knew that I was not growing enough and that I was going to have to order. So I'm going to get my Rama. Hopefully Oshala Farms has some in stock. If not, there's a couple other small herb farms that I want to check out. And if not, then I will just hit up one of the big box places and I will get probably some Frontier Co-op or Mountain Rose Herbs Tulsi and get that in here because it's very important to have Tulsi on hand. Okay, this here is plantain and I've kept this whole basically for the purposes of making videos and things so that I can show what plantain really looks like here. But we need it. So now it's time to mash it up. Plantain has this ulcerative and vulnerary property that knits the tissues back together. That's what those properties do. So what I mean by knitting it back together is all of the little holes and damaging things that happen in your gut. If you have leaky gut, if you have irritable bowel syndrome, if you have Crohn's disease, if you have ulcerative colitis, if you have a very reactive gut to things, you get a lot of inflammation and damage in the lining of your gut. And if you have that happen, then you end up losing nutrition. You can't pull, like your gut is what is responsible for pulling the nutrition out of your food. So if you have holes and tears and rips and inflammation and moisture imbalances in your gut lining, in your intestinal lining, then you are going to ineffectively be uptaking the nutrition from your food. So you're going to miss some of the big vitamins and minerals that your body needs to stay healthy. So having these kinds of herbs that can help to promote the healing with those tissues is incredibly important. So especially with IBS. So I have kind of an IBS situation and one of my sons has it also. He is more of a food sensitive allergy kind of a thing. And mine is secondary to endometriosis and AS. So because of that, this is something that we'll take if we're noticing things that are happening in our lives, food that he's eating, periods of time for me, like during cycles or during flares, AS flares or anything. And that's when we start drinking this tea. This is not necessarily a daily thing, but if I'm noticing his stomach looks a little distended, if I'm hearing him complain about his stomach just kind of being unsettled, this is when we start taking this, because in people that have irritable bowel syndrome, not irritable bowel disease, but irritable bowel syndrome, they have very sensitive stomachs, and they can go from mildly uncomfortable to days long flares very, very quickly. So plantain is one of the more healing promoting kind of herbs. Lemon balm is another one we're going to put in there for 2 reasons. 1, the flavor, actually 3 reasons. 2, the nervine properties, because when you are going through a lot of abdominal pain, ladies, if you've had babies, you know this. When you have a contraction, your whole body can tense up. Your whole body, and this is like whole leaf lemon balm, so I got to kind of mush this up too. Your whole body kind of has this like spasm. Like, it's very difficult to control the nervous system and stay calm during those spasms. I've had 4 children, and I can tell you that cramping type pain that comes along with IBS, it's comparable to contractions in early to active labor. They can be very, very painful. So having a couple herbs in here that are good nervines would be very helpful for people that have a really hard time relaxing and staying calm and not having that like full body reaction when you're having spasms with your gut. This would also be a really nice tea to have when you're getting over a stomach virus. This would be a really, really good one. Okay, so we've got lemon balm. Oh, and the other reason for lemon balm is it's very calming to the gut lining. So very, very helpful there. This next one we're going to do is dandelion greens. So dandelion is famously known for being very good for the gut. And it has this thing in it called inulin. And inulin is basically a prebiotic. It is really helpful in promoting the good, healthy bacteria in your gut that is going to help balance everything the way it should be. So that's why we have dandelion in there. It's also a bitter, a digestive bitter. And if you have someone in your family that you want to make this for, you need to be a little careful with bitters. You don't want to overload them with bitters because some people can be very, very sensitive to them. Some people with digestive issues can't handle bitters. It does a little too much for them. And creating that balance of like good bacteria and good moisture content and good tissue healing and things, if you're using bitters, with some people that needs to be gone into very, very slowly with very little amounts of one bitter at a time to see what works for them and what doesn't, because there's different types of prebiotics and probiotics, and not all of them work for everybody. So if you are going to be adding herbs that are bitters, and again, a bitter is just an herb, a property in an herb that is going to help with things like absorption and digestion and elimination and just like general health of the digestive system and what it should be doing. You go slow with them. Okay, so there is the dandelion greens. And with gut issues comes inflammation. So my favorite herb, nettle, is going to go in here. We don't need tons of nettle, but a good amount, probably equal to what we're going to do with the dandelion. This is not our nettle. This is from Oshala Farms. Our nettle is long gone, so we placed a big bulk order of nettle. I mean, I got a lot of nettle. And you know what? I want to also put some marshmallow in here to help with that balancing of the mucous membranes, because marshmallow is excellent for that. With IBS, you can get a lot of mucousy issues with elimination, and it can be very draining to the body. So restoring that balance so that you're not having the issues with mucus is really, really important. I know it's a gross topic, but it's a topic that pertains to so many people. So if it is an issue for you, just fast forward. Just don't listen to that part. or skip the video entirely. So we're all adults here. All right, oat straw is the last one. Now, oat is multi-beneficial. It has a lot of, it just smells like spring. It has a lot of properties that are really beneficial for someone that is going through the depletion of having chronic diarrhea and chronic maybe vomiting for some people. But it helps, it's a great mineralizer. So I go a little heavy on the oat straw because it tastes delicious too. So we do the oat straw not just to help mineralizing, but it helps provide some fiber and a little bit of a laxative effect with the gut. Now, I'm going to caution you against a couple things with oat straw. If you have a gluten sensitivity, you need to be careful with oat straw because there could be a possibility of you having a reaction to it. I am gluten sensitive. I am gluten-free, and I can have oat straw just fine, but I would never give this to my child that is has a wheat allergy and any kind of gluten he has a big sensitivity to. I would not give this to him. Also, there are two types of IBS. IBS is more of an umbrella term for we don't know what's wrong with your gut, but you have a reactive digestive tract, basically. It's just irritable bowel syndrome. For some reason, your intestinal lining is very irritated. And there's pharmaceutical medications that you can go on if they're extreme. A lot of the times it's a warning sign and it is a secondary reaction to something else going on in your body. Sometimes it's a primary response to something going on in your body. If you have ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, you know what I'm talking about. But oat straw helps with, like I said, that laxative property. If you have the type of IBS that gives you a lot of diarrhea, you do not need oat straw. If you have the type of IBS that keeps you constipated for days and days, and then you have an episode or multiple episodes of diarrhea with a lot of cramping and pain, and you feel very depleted and just dehydrated and everything afterwards, after the episode, oat straw could be something that could be very beneficial to you. So we are adding a good hefty dose of oat straw in this. And we will go ahead and put that in there. So for this one, again, it was lemon balm, plantain, dandelion greens, nettle, and oat straw. And I forgot to add the tulsi, didn't I? I did. And we'll add tulsi because, again, during these episodes, it's very stressful to the body. It depletes a lot of nutrients. It depletes a lot of energy. And having something like an adaptogen, a good adaptogen like tulsi, is very helpful for the body getting back on track and recovering and not becoming further depleted. I'm going to put this back in here. And having further issues. Because also with the gut, once you start having issues, it's very hard to get out of that. If you have any kind of condition that makes you chronically start vomiting, women that have hyperemesis, which basically means you're throwing up constantly, when they're pregnant. Oh, nice little marshmallow flower. I thought something was molded for a minute. I'm like, no, but it's not. It's just a marshmallow flower. It's really hard to stop. Once you start, your gut at any point in time, like your stomach, your intestines, your liver, your gallbladder, like any of it, once it starts being with the inflammation and being really irritated and being really reactive, it's very hard for it to stop without intervention. So when you are taking something like this tea here, for example, this IBS tea, it's important that you sip it very, very slowly, that you sip it at a comfortable temperature, that you are not trying to chug this because it's not going to help you. It could make you worse. You want to make sure that you are supporting and nourishing your system, not trying to slam it with some kind of medicine, treatment, what have you. That's not the way to go with this. So there they are, these two teas. I think I'm probably going to have to make a little more, but I'm definitely going to run out of Rama. So we've got a little less than half a jar. You know what? I'm just going to add more in. We're going to do this. We're going to do it this way. We're we're just gonna add it in. I'm gonna add the rest of my aroma. Hopefully we don't regret that. I think it'll be fine. We're gonna add just equal parts of everything else in here so I can eyeball how much it is, and then we can mix it all together. Chamomile, a little more peppermint, and some more marshmallow. There we go. Now, because I'm probably going to have somebody comment in the comments down there that you thought that marshmallow was only good for the gut if you are using the root. No. Now, ideally, you want to use the root, but there are still good properties in the leaves. And if you want to have a tea that has all of these other good properties in there for the gut, and you want a little bit of that marshmallow demulcent property that's going to help balance you, the leaf is a good thing. I would not put a root in here because if you haven't seen, I think I talked about that actually in my Herbal Winter Workshop, which I'll put a link for down below if you want to check that out, about infusions versus decoctions. And we talked about what marshmallow can do and why you don't want to put marshmallow root in a hot infusion, because it kind of turns thick because of that demulcent property. So we talked about that, and I kind of gave an example and showed you what happens with it. It is definitely not something I would want to have in a tea as an enjoyable experience here. Could you still drink it and get the properties? Yes, but it's not a fabulous experience. So what I would do is add this marshmallow leaf, aerial parts in here, the leaf, the stem, the flowers, and we get the properties from there. And I can always add a marshmallow root tincture into my tea if I want more of that property. This is the indigestion. This is the IBS tea. Both of these are going to go on the apothecary shelves and serve my family well. This will probably be good for a few months. So this will probably get us going to summer, which is good because there are some things that I am running low on, like our lemon balm. We're out of nettle leaf. This is my last thing of dandelion green. This is the last of the plantain. There's things we're running low on. So I am ready for spring. So if you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you gave it a thumbs up. It tells YouTube you like it and you want to see more just like it. And also, if you have not subscribed, I want to invite you to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can learn more things like this and how to apply them. And if you hear the chick noises in the background, we still got chickens in our house. I'm ready for them to not be in my house anymore. So thanks for hanging out with me today while we make these gut supporting tea blends, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.